People of Reddit, what did your friend do that accidentally turned you on? This one girl started tickling me, but when I started tickling her back, she began to moan and said she was sensitive there. It was an awkward drive home.
Oh, I know that feeling. In my case, my friend and I were watching a movie in his parents' basement back in high school. It was a little chilly, and we were playfully fighting over the blanket. It turned into a bit of a tickle fight, but I was winning because I am not ticklish except for a few extremely sensitive places, whereas he was ticklish everywhere. He told me it wasn't fair that he couldn't tickle me since my only ticklish spots are the sides of my breasts and the back of my knees. I dared him to try it, thinking he never would since he was a good Christian boy. He absolutely went for it and tickled me unmercifully for about a minute until it morphed into complete and total desire. He could absolutely tell the second it changed, and we ended up making out. I absolutely would have freaked him out right then and there, but we never went any farther. We never had a repeat of the makeout session, but there was always a huge amount of sexual tension between us after that, and it really kind of ruined the friendship.
As a guy, I decided to fall asleep on a close friend's lap, who then proceeded to stroke my hair and lightly pull it. It was really hard to fall asleep because I was more worried that I'd get a boner from that.
From a woman's perspective, there is a very real chance your friend was trying to give you that boner you were worried about.
So, I had this friend who, during long phone call sessions, used to talk to me in this seductive-sounding Colombian accent and called me bizcocho, which means cake in Spanish. I never thought being called a dessert would be hot, or maybe I'm just weird. That's a well-known flirty way for Spanish speakers to call someone. It's been disappearing because it's kind of old school and goofy. Well, I was cracking jokes with a coworker, and when she laughed at something I said, she pushed at my chest in that, "Oh, stop it, you" kind of way. Boy, I damn near melted right then and there. A group of us went to a firework display, and during the usual louder and bigger finale fireworks, she jumped, grabbed my arm tight, and didn't let go. Not sure what happened inside me, but yeah, that did it.
That's some anime stuff right there. Now we just need the part where she confessed, but the fireworks were too loud and you couldn't hear it. He and I were watching a movie when he gave me a hug. While hugging me, he gently ran his hands up and down my back. He didn't mean anything sexual by it. I, on the other hand, have a very sensitive back and was severely turned on by it. The next day, he made fun of me for being ticklish. I then admitted the truth about that. Needless to say, he did it again later. We've been dating for over a year now.
I injured my hand at my previous job pretty badly, and my coworker came and bandaged it up. I felt like such a dumb boy. Just being cared for like that is such a turn-on. A friend of mine, whom I had a crush on, sucked on my fingers as a joke. Then someone told her they do it in porn all the time, and she never did it again. LOL. She held my hand for a few seconds just a few days ago while she was driving. We held hands for a while, and I'm still evaluating why that had such an impact on me.
I've never been ladylike, so I was play fighting with a friend, and he pinned me down and shocked me a little. I still think about it sometimes.
Yeah, I was never really the ladylike type either. I mean, I'm a dude, but still. She ruffled my hair. It wasn't that big a deal, but she was one of my close friends, and I thought, just row, Benjamin. I thought you were gay.
He was driving, and I was riding shotgun. He had to reverse to parallel park and turned his torso towards me, putting his arm around my seat to look back. He did that so confidently and effortlessly that it made me feel a little funny.
You mean my good parking skills could actually be useful? I remember a girl classmate friend liking the smell of my deodorant. She just grabbed onto my arm and then proceeded to walk beside me.
What kind of deodorant?
I came back from freshman year college to visit high school and walked into the auditorium where an incredibly cute girl I was friends with saw me. She stopped what she was doing and literally ran up the aisle and jumped into my arms to hug me. Plot twist: married 26 years and have a son.
Multiple things. First, at a party, he danced with me and lifted me in the air. I'm not thin, and not many people tried this with me. Then, on a trip we made with friends, his cousin made a tent using sheets and a bunk bed. We went inside to read manga on his phone. He put his arms around me so we both could see the screen. Before anyone asks, he wasn't into me back then, but now we've been together for nearly 4 years.
We were neighbors. She just kicked out her ex-boyfriend, and we lost power due to an ice storm. The power was restored later, but her heat wasn't working right. She called it in, but the maintenance people were busy with other units. We were hanging out at my place watching movies and basking in my heat, though it was still chilly. So we were sharing a blanket on the couch, snuggled up together, and drinking whiskey. She passed out on the couch, so I put an extra blanket on her and went to my room. About 1 hour later, she walks into my room, just falls into bed next to me, gets under the covers, and snuggles up to me, saying she's cold, and then passes out. I don't know. Maybe I felt wanted and that she came to me for comfort. We didn't hook up or anything. The next morning, she woke up, made me breakfast, and went back to her apartment to get her heat fixed. Edit. WTF happened between me posting this and now? Thanks, I guess. Basking in my heat? It took me a while to realize you weren't just emanating heat like a human radiator. There are no accidents, Master Ugly. She was my female best friend at the time. We went out to watch A Star is Born, and she rested her head on my right shoulder. I was on cloud 9.
When he flipped between languages while talking on the phone with his mother and then asked me to pass him his wallet, I knew people could switch it on and off like that, but I've never seen the flow quite as effortlessly.
I've had several female friends bite me in a playful manner. It turned me on every single time, and she probably knew. I told her a joke, and she smiled so much, looked at the ground, then gave me a just so funny look. I honestly wanted to date her since then. It's been 3 years, and I'm still thinking of her.
He jumped up, grabbed the fire escape ladder, pulled himself up, and climbed all the way to the top. Just oh dear. That's how I learned I have a thing for people climbing and pulling themselves up. I offered him a sip of my drink, and he made intense eye contact with me as he slowly put the straw in his mouth and took a nice, long sip. I found it kinda weird to be turned on so much by him sucking on a straw since I don't have AD. We've been dating for over 2 years now.
She was the popular girl in our class. She said, "I love you," to me as a friend. I think anyway, or I'm just incredibly freaking dense. I didn't like her, but it still made my heart flutter. Nothing hotter than having your friends confirm that they actually do respect you as a person. We were in a theater with a group of friends, and while watching the movie, she would put her head on my shoulder and talk to me about how people come to theaters to kiss. LOL. We used to have this sweet tradition where she'd kiss my cheek every time we said goodbye. Once, at a party, she accidentally kissed my neck instead. It caught me off guard. She was the type to hug everyone, but when she hugged me, it felt different. I was so awkward about it that I admitted I'd never had a girl hug me like that before. There was this one time she playfully pulled me, but it felt strangely comforting, unlike anything I'd felt before.
Whenever someone whispers in my ear, it sends shivers down my spine, even if it's just something silly. And my back? It's a total trigger zone. If a friend gets too huggy, I have to quietly excuse myself.
She was always so carefree, even about changing in front of me. Just the way she'd casually take off her bra under her top to get comfortable. It was oddly enticing. It's funny how those little moments stick with you. Like when she laid her head on my lap while we sat beside each other. When I was a freshman and taking a 6 a.m. class and going to practice an hour after school, she let me take a nap with her lap as a pillow and played with my hair. It was so relaxing.
Not really a friend, but my first boyfriend when I was still figuring out how attraction works, pulled the collar of his shirt and leaned his head to the other side because he wanted to scratch his neck.
We were going to a picnic with our classmates. This was in 10th grade. I'm in my second year of college now, and we were in this deluxe gigantic bus. We actually played hide and seek in the bus. Anyways, while we were playing, I crossed my legs and sat down under one of the seats, and a female friend of mine came to the same spot and asked if she could hide with me. I agreed. and she lay down and placed her head on my lap. She admitted that she knew she was on my lap, but didn't want to move because she thought that would make me feel awkward. We had a good chuckle, and we're still good friends. The bus was pretty spacious, almost like a deluxe coach bus, which is why we could play hide and seek comfortably. Senior year of high school, a guy dared me to give a massage to my girl best friend when she sat down. She sat down, and I started giving her a shoulder massage, which I've been told I'm very good at. She let out a couple of soft moans and completely relaxed. I had never really been attracted to her until then. Then I stopped, and she slumped back, tilted her head back so I was looking at her upside down, and she said, "Don't stop." So, that was some feelings I felt since it got a fair amount of views. Nothing ended up coming out of it. She had a boyfriend at the time who was jealous of me for quite some time. According to her, we haven't talked much in recent years, but we're having dinner and catching up either this weekend or next. It depends on if I have to work this weekend or not. I have feelings for her, but I'm not sure those feelings are strong enough worth ruining our 18-plus year friendship. I was talking with a coworker, and her friend walked behind her and tugged her hair as a joke. Her reaction was a quick lip bite and eyes rolled up. Probably wasn't accidental, but I was drinking with a friend of mine one night, and she was venting about her boyfriend at the time. I had always been interested in her, but I also respected it when she got into relationships, even though I really didn't like this guy she was with. She said she was going to go to bed and that I could crash on the couch since I had been drinking. She started stretching in front of me and said that she always stretches before bed. Now, I wouldn't have questioned this, but she was sticking her butt right in my face, and she was getting into some pretty suggestive poses on the floor. She went to bed, and the next day thanked me for letting her vent. A lot of people told me she was trying to make a move and I should have gone for it, but she had been drinking and had a boyfriend. So there were 2 red flags for me to not even try. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Good on you for following your heart.
A close friend from uni pulled my ponytail firmly enough to get my attention because I didn't hear him call me. I had to catch my breath after that. We're married now.
Had a friend who got a tattoo on the back of her neck and decided to kneel down in front of me so I could see it. Never been so grateful for willpower in my life. The last thing I needed was her turning around to find a tent. Why would she need to kneel to show a tattoo on her neck?
Didn't do anything, but we were rock climbing and the rope was too tight, so he helped me untie it. He got close enough for me to catch his smell, and he actually smelled so good. Instant turn on. Might seem weird, but it is what it is. And nope, he wasn't sweating because he belayed me. The old, my figure 8 is too tight from taking a massive whip move. Oldest trick in the book.
I was having a drink with an old friend a long time ago. At a point after a brief pause, she just looked at me, smiled, and said, "You're very handsome, you know?" It got a little quiet and awkward, and we carried on drinking and chatting, and soon it was like nothing had happened. But from that moment on, I never failed to notice the striking blue of her eyes, and my feelings became slightly complicated and conflicted. It didn't last, of course. Just bizarre how a compliment can change your perception, especially for us men who receive so few. We barely speak anymore. We're both married, and she has a son. Of course, I love my wife with all I have and all I am. But there's always that memory. I've never forgotten it, and I imagine I never will. She asked me to touch her thigh. She was very proud of them after working out. Little did she know, I really like thighs. We're engaged now. At the school dance, a friend who I had a crush on came over and sat on my lap, despite there being plenty of free chairs next to me, and just casually had a conversation. Edit. Geez, when I posted this, I never expected it to get this much attention, let alone get awards, so thank you for them. This is my most upvoted thing on Reddit ever, which is crazy. Anyway, to all who wanted to know, she was not into me the same way I was into her, as I found out a while later when I got told we were just friends. So, to whoever asked if we smashed, I regret to inform you that we did not. Also, I'm aware the thread said accidentally, and I'm pretty sure that she wasn't trying to turn me on, but it did. Have her. She knew and was freaking with you, or trying to get you to make a move. I was making coffee in my AeroPress for us and pressing slowly on the top of it like you're supposed to when she shouldered me over a little and leaned on my hand to push it down faster. It was cute as frick, and I'll never forget it. A friend of mine used to sit on my lap when we'd run out of chair hanging with other friends, and she'd move her hips to find a comfy spot. But goddamn, it was hard on me to find a way that my little John wouldn't poke her in the butt, which did happen a couple of times. She would follow it with giving me a smile and shifting just a little more and saying something coy. Another time was when we were hanging out while I had a really loose tooth. She was getting annoyed at me pushing at it with my tongue. So she pushed me to my bed, straddled me, and reached her head into my mouth to tear my tooth out. From the sounds being made, my groaning, the bed shaking, my dad came up to make sure we were all right, then saw us sweaty, her on top of me, face right up to mine, and thought we were about to do it. LOL. After she used that as a distraction enough to yank my tooth out, I had to go downstairs to stop up the bleeding and manage to explain to him what had happened, to which he looked mildly disappointed, and I think his head couldn't, to this day, shake off the idea that I had sex with her, or at least some light over the clothes action.
Okay, but seriously, did nothing happen with her after this? She literally straddled you on a bed and nothing?